WrestleTalk.
Seth Rollins, sure, he's a predictable pick to win the tournament. But is he the right pick for the tournament? I am Luke Owen, DAD. I'm joined by the Professor Dan Layton, PhD AD, here to review Monday Night Raw here on the WrestleTalk Podcast. Please do press the subscribe button if this is your first time here. Give us a little thumbs up as well. And leave a comment down below with what you thought of the show if you're watching this on demand. However, if you are watching this live, get in your UltraChats to WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll read out all of them above the $5 if Streamlabs isn't being a dick about it. We will do our best. Not only are they losing names, they are not taking through some payments as well. So yeah, it's been a great time, Dan.
Love that for Streamlabs, and indeed especially for us.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, it makes the whole thing worthwhile.
No, what makes it worthwhile is the community.
Exactly.
And being together.
It's the friends we made along the way.
But the money, I can't lie to you, it's quite sweet.
Well, I can't pay my mortgage without it.
There you go. There you go.
Also, if you're in the mood for clicking links, why don't you buy our book? Not only that, but we're going to be announcing today the winners.
Oh, yeah. We had
of our book competition who'll be winning signed editions of the book. And please do also get your tickets to come and watch Night of Champions live with us in person in Shoreditch at the end of the month with a live Quizlemania. That is sold out.
It is.
However, the Night of Champions show there are tickets still available for that. So click the link in the video description down below. Join us for a night of wrestling fun. Well, actually, it'll be an afternoon/evening of wrestling fun because the show will start at 4.
Yeah.
And then we've just got the pub until it closes. So you could just come and party with us. It's going to be a great time. And then I've got to come in and do the review the following day.
Except for us because we'll be in bed by tucked up before the close of play.
But this episode of Raw, as we get down to business, was really centered around one thing, and that was the title tournament for the new World Heavyweight Championship, the consolation prize, for those of you who can't beat Roman Reigns, of the Raw side of the brackets.
Yeah, only Raw.
Before we get to the SmackDown side of the brackets for this Raw exclusive World Championship.
Do you remember last week? Because they don't.
In fairness, Wade Barrett did say this.
He did, and we all were like, no.
But then they corrected him on Raw, being like, it's a Raw exclusive title. And then, as Dude Where's My Car once famously said, and then we got another announcement that it is in fact going to be dual branded, at least the tournament side of things. And we had 2 triple threat matches and the finals of those triple threat matches on this show.
So it really took over the whole show, didn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. It basically took over like the first hour and then like the final third of the show.
Can I
just
say,
the final 8 minutes, really?
Everything I have seen we've set the let it play out rule of 3 weeks or so, everything I've seen about this championship has led me to go further and further into my full conspiracy theory rabbit hole, which is that this championship was designed for Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes was always planned to win. It was Triple H's pick to win at WrestleMania. It was going to be like, well done, you did it. You won the big one. Here's a brand new belt unifying the two because it says World Champion. It's WWE World. Doesn't say heavyweight anywhere. It just looks like the old heavyweight belt. And it's like, you won the big one. It looks like the one your dad always held, but it's got the big WWE on it because you finished the story, and then we move on. The sheer lack of any form of cohesion in the presentation of the belt now, in the story of the belt, in the purposes of the belt, in who can and can't challenge for the belt, the brand split, the non-brand split, Roman saying, I could go for it maybe. There's only one belt on his shoulders, there's 2 belts on his shoulders, is that none of it makes sense. So it can only be that Cody was supposed to win, and this is the Endeavor deal scuppered it.
Well, do you know what, Dan? This is very interesting because you and I have we've flipped reverse it.
Oh, really?
We've almost Freaky Friday'd ourselves into swapping bodies.
You're welcome. Enjoy this.
Oh, I will.
It's let me tell you, it's sluggish until about 3 p.m.
Yeah, but those naked switch times is the ones I'm really looking for.
It's not that warm yet. It's not that warm. Also, those were private. Oh wait, no, I did tweet those.
I was going to say, those were not private, sir.
The context was that Be Real happened last summer when it was a heat wave, and literally 3 days in a row, at completely different times. Be Real went off when I was lying naked on my couch playing my Switch.
Your Switch. And there's a new Zelda game out this week, so
well, there you go.
I'll have a great
Prime
time between
time.
Freaky Friday this situation, because like I've not turned a corner as such, but I do think that WWE found themselves in a bit of a quandary, which was that you either put Cody Rhodes into this tournament, which undermines his finish the story with Roman, and also undermines the World Heavyweight Championship, the Blue Universal Championship over there, because it turns out that actually wasn't as important because there's another belt that you could have won over here. But by just focusing on the Roman one, that undermines this belt as well. So I thought they got kind of the best of both worlds by having him in the tournament, but also eliminating him from the tournament early doors. And you can kind of sort of like just keep him away from that belt now. So he did go for it, and he did almost, tried his best to make it feel like it was a belt he wanted to win.
Yeah.
But then also, like, it did sort of kind of undermine a little bit his finish the story. I don't know what his story is anymore, because he told us that he couldn't finish the story unless he beat Brock, and then he beat Brock, but then he didn't come out on Raw being like, and now it's time for me to continue finishing my story as I'm going to go after. It was just like...
He did a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit in that promo. He was like, done that. Proved to you I could beat Brock Lesnar. Now it's time, and he went over and stood by it, didn't he?
Yes, but so was it just a case of just winning a title?
Well, this is it. But this is why I can't believe it was ever supposed to be the plan. I don't, because the Royal Rumble, or rather War Games to WrestleMania, worked perfectly. The plans were in the works. It was always said. Even though Sami Zayn was growing and growing and growing in Sami Zayn was growing and growing in popularity right through the way through the Rumble, the storyline played out as we were reported that it was going to. Owens at the Rumble, Sami in Montreal, Cody at WrestleMania. That's the way it was planned.
With Sami and Kev going for the tag titles.
Exactly. And it played out. So I can't believe that they would have had all that in place and then nothing planned for now. Like, no idea of what they were going to do next. That just doesn't make any sense to me. So the only thing I can...
You new here.
but this is where I'm always huffing the copium, or I'm always just like, I'm the naive one who'll always, like, fool me twice, shame on me, but can't get fooled again. George Bush. But I don't know. Why would you plan that much and then just not bother? Do you know what I mean? Why would you not go, okay, well, this is what's next? Or like, and the story was always that Triple H didn't like the Universal Championship, and so he wanted to sort of phase that one out, which meant that we'd have the one belt, and it just represented the one thing. And then Endeavor comes along, and there was something I read somewhere about not wanting necessarily too much change at the top, and in terms of the storylines and the face of the company, all that stuff. Vince with his mustache, the Just for Men's got to him, and he's really, pal, I'm as young as I ever was, and wants to put the pin in Cody for now because he's not faced enough adversity, and like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I thought that what went on in the show was a real effort to make the best of a bad situation, which has been this championship's entire story thus far, and none of it makes any sense, and it's frustrating because I am inclined to like two different belts.
Yeah, I mean, that is where you and I differ on this, because I'm a one belt kind of guy.
But I'm only inclined to like two different belts if there are two different brands, completely separate, hard split, don't bother, any crossover ever. None of that brand warfare Survivor Series bollocks. I like clean.
I think that once we get... This is hilarious already, because this is kind of what we said, like, well, once we get through Backlash, then we can do this. But I feel like, well, now once we get through Night of Champions and we don't have a SmackDown star fighting for the Raw exclusive title, I think we will have that very hard line. This is Raw, this is SmackDown.
Except for the free agents.
With the exception of the free agents,
and
with the exception of them and the women's tag champions as well, who were, sort of floating across both brands.
And maybe on NXT as well.
And also maybe Natalia, because she can do whatever she wants. She can do whatever she wants.
The great thing about the brand split is that you can appear on both brands. That's literally what she said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there will be more of a
maybe she's going to win the SmackDown Women's Championship and take it back to SmackDown.
Oh, do you think that's what it could be?
Yeah, and then she'll win the Raw Women's Championship. And actually, it's not going to be a title swap. Natalia's going to fix it. We'll get onto that later in the show.
But the main crux of this show was around this World Heavyweight Championship, and people have accused me of tinfoil hatting myself with Vince isn't as in control as you are making out to be, and I don't think I've ever said Vince is making all the creative calls, because I was talking to Sullivan about this earlier. Like these still feel like Triple H shows. They feel like Triple H spinning their wheel shows, and I've seen enough of those because I was watching NXT week to week for multiple years. I know a spinning its wheel show written by Triple H when I see one. And these are Triple H shows, but there are Vince fingerprints over a lot of things. I think Amos's featuring across both brands being one of those. But also on this show, because since Vince has come back with Endeavor, there have been more last-minute changes, which we didn't see in any of the Triple H era in the early days. But we have had more of them as of late, in particular on this show. The opening of the show was really awkwardly staged. So, I'm making my notes. I get up in the morning, 6 a.m., I make my cup of coffee, and I go upstairs and go to my office and I start making my notes. Cody Rhodes' music hits, and I'm like, cool. Cody Rhodes out for a promo. Then Cody Rhodes is out in his gear, and I was like, oh no, it's his triple threat.
Match,
Okay, so I then wrote Cody Rhodes versus, and then Cody cut a promo. And I was like, oh no, Cody is cutting a promo. He's cutting a promo before his triple threat. And so he cuts his promo where he says that he beat Brock at Backlash, and Jacksonville was his home during the pandemic, and
which instantly made me worried about his chances in this tournament, by the way.
Couldn't really enjoy his time in Puerto Rico because he had the daunting task of facing the Beast, but he managed to do that, and his goal is now clear. He must win this new title. I don't think that was his goal, but whatever.
It's his new goal.
Yeah. He didn't say that I would be finishing the story because he didn't really use those words. But then, so he's cutting this promo. And then Seth Rollins comes out, and Rollins is not part of his triple threat. Rollins is in the other triple threat with Nakamura and Damian Priest, whereas Roses is with Balor and The Miz. And I was like, oh, maybe they're going to have a promo battle, and we'll kind of set these two up as the finale of the tournament. No, Rollins came out and then it just started his triple threat, but he didn't, because then we got a video package. We got a recap of Rollins beating Amos. Then we got a big video package of Priest versus Bad Bunny. Then we got Kathy Kelly interviewing Damian Priest. Then Damian Priest made his entrance. Then Shinsuke Nakamura made his entrance, and then the match happened.
Yeah,
mad awkward staging.
Too much.
And the reason for this,
overproduced. The
reason for this is because, as Fightful Select reported, Cody's triple threat was meant to start the show.
Really?
Yes, it was meant to be. Cody has his promo, and then his triple threat happens. And they had a last-minute production order change to put the Rollins triple threat first, then the Cody triple threat a match later.
Was Brock late?
I don't know. Or is it just Vince like, God damn it, pal, put Rollins on first? And that's why, like, all of this, it just, like, I was watching the show being like, this is just a really weird way to fill up a show.
It's a great example for if you are a small business owner and you're trying to run a company. This is how not to do it. Like, because making these nonsensical changes just on a whim does throw things into chaos completely. And this is why I go back to, I don't believe that this was the plan. I don't believe that's what this belt was for. I don't believe Cody was supposed to lose the match of Mania. I don't believe it, because it doesn't make any sense.
Again, this is my conspiracy theory hat, tinfoil hat on, whatever. But I really thought Cody will win at Mania. He will make the decision that he is splitting the belts back up, and he will merge these two belts back into the WWE Championship, because that is the belt that he wants, and they will introduce a new belt, and that will become the two world titles that they will fight for. Instead, what we have got is sort of a mess of all the worst versions that you could have gone with this. But it's the situation that we're in.
That's it. It's so this is where the idea of Vince, not on the weeds, on the day-to-day, but the bigger creative thing, what he was saying, kind of, you see both sides of that, and the Triple H making the best of the bad situation. That sound like a Triple H stan. Kind of am. Whatever. But like, or the idea of the people, the producers, the writers, the people who are dealing with this sort of show for one person, megalomaniac up at the top, doing what they can to put together at least something to fill 3 hours. Because what we got, like, the material was actually quite good in terms of the matches. Do I think, by the way, triple threat tournament all on one night is a good idea? No, because then what is the point, so that we can build to the brand split weakens even more, because we're going to have the winner of the SmackDown and the winner of the Raw tournament feud over the next couple of weeks.
Well, that's it. I mean, yeah, if I were in control, I would have spread this out.
Yeah.
You could have done the 2 triple threats here, and then the finals of it next week. You actually could have done a series of singles matches.
Pick an extra player on each side, and have 2 matches tonight, semi-final, final, because really there doesn't need to be a feud for this match. It just needs to be,
Yeah,
we want
tournament.
that damn belt.
Yeah.
You know, there's no feud in Wimbledon. Like, it's not, I mean, there kind of is, because you can build, but let's say you did put Seth Rollins and Cody in the final. There wasn't a feud between them building to this match, but there is history between these two.
Absolutely.
Balor, let's say, and Edge, let's say. Edge retired as the champion. He was never able he never lost it, hasn't had the opportunity to win it back yet. Tried to at WrestleMania 37 and then had that interrupted.
It's a different belt.
This
This is a brand new belt.
This one looks like the one he got rid of. But point being, he retired having been champion, had his career stolen from him, he's been working to get it back. Balor won the Universal Championship on day one, was injured in the match, hasn't really had an opportunity to do it again. There's a story. This is the thing. It's like you don't need to overproduce and overthink these things. Wrestling is actually quite simple.
I mean, WWE, I think that I said this with the draft last week, do like to overcomplicate things en masse. However, look, okay, that is, I've said all of that and I'm putting this over here now. I'm putting this in a tiny little box over here. I think the structure of this is very, I think it is bad. I think it is structurally not the way to do a TV show. However, then the bell rings.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Banger.
Because it's Seth Rollins and it's Shinsuke Nakamura and it's Damian Priest. They couldn't have a bad match if they tried.
And there was so much in it that I really liked. I love the logic of Damian still selling his knee. And we actually saw another example of that in the second triple threat match which we'll get to. But the Shinsuke coming in with sort of like surprise, I'm not surprised, but like I'm on Raw now. Here we go. We haven't seen these matchups in a while. We haven't seen Seth and Shinsuke against each other.
Oh, dude, when they had their little face-off moment and they did like the Shinsuke, come on!
Yeah.
And they go into a hockey fight, it was so cool. They had like the three of them doing their striking exchange.
Yeah.
It was really, really good action. I thought this was an awesome match. Damian Priest looked fantastic in this as well, because he's coming off a loss to Bad Bunny, but actually I think the story they told in that street fight was great, where it's not he was out wrestled by Bad Bunny.
Because he was in control
for most of it.
And also, I don't subscribe to the notion inherently that a loss is bad if you are a star maker in the process, and also if you come off looking really good at it. And again, it took the entire of the LWO plus Carlito and Savio Vega to get the job done.
Exactly.
So,
and the hyperextending of the knee that Bad Bunny did. So Damian Priest then is selling his leg throughout this, essentially wrestling almost one-legged.
And what's really interesting in that is that also backstage there was apparently a report that people were really impressed with how he handled this match with Bad Bunny, really impressed with how he'd essentially carried this non-wrestler to one of the sort of most memorable performances on the show. That spot with the table was great. You know, and to do that safe, because I imagined the insurance company clenching so hard during that moment.
Yeah.
But that's that's the point of wrestling, is to keep your opponent safe, and he kept Bad Bunny safe in that moment. That's a really impressive pair of hands. So like, good for him. Loved the finale, which was Shinsuke having a knee. He
had a knee bar on Damian Priest, targeting that leg that was injured from the Bad Bunny match. And then Seth Rollins from the heavens hits a frog splash on Nakamura. So Nakamura releases the hold. Priest rolls to the outside, and as Nakamura is getting back up, bombs. Oh no, he hit the pedigree.
Yeah,
he hit the pedigree.
So it was like a frog splash onto the knee bar. Damian's gone at this point. And then, up pops Shinsuke in recoil almost. And then pedigree, 1, 2, 3. Really great.
Great, man. I thought it was so good.
I thought it took a second to get going, but once it got going, it got going.
Yeah.
You know?
You mentioned just before we started, you had a few Kevin Patrick isms to note down.
We've got a few Kevin Patrick isms this show.
I tuned him out mostly this week. However, I did note down this one, which is when Shinsuke Nakamura was making his entrance, and he said, "Hey, forget about the coronation in England. The true king has arrived." And he can say that because he's Irish and he doesn't believe in our monarchy. But also,
Americans, though, look, do you know King Charles was on American Idol? Yeah, because Katy Perry and Lionel Richie are both patrons of his charities. And they also are American Idol judges, and they were both performing at the coronation. So there was a party going on at the palace, and they were doing a live-to-camera piece for American Idol. And King Charles and Queen Camilla, their majesties, decided that they would pop up on the show, and it was actually kind of funny. Like,
are you sure?
It was like it had full like earlier tonight backstage segment Monday Night Raw kind of energy, but it was quite entertaining.
Yeah,
as entertaining as they can be. It's like, are you going to be here all night long?
I didn't see any of the coronation.
No, I
took the kids swimming, and then
to avoid it. Patriotic swimming.
Not to avoid it. It's just that my kids swimming just happens to fall around the same time the coronation was happening. And then like I was calling my mum in the morning. She was like, "Oh, you can just watch it on catch up." And I was like, I won't be doing that, Mum.
I like to watch the history. I think it's all quite camp. I think it's quite interesting. But there's not an ounce of me that would seek it on catch up. Do you know what I mean? Cripes.
Yeah, but Penny Morden with that sword though.
Former Splash contestant, ITV's reality show Splash.
Never heard of it.
Well, there you go.
Also, and people might be able to correct me on this one, but I wonder if this is the first time that they were doing this. They were calling Damian Priest the punishment of the Judgment Day.
Oh, I haven't heard
which
that.
I thought was a really nice touch because that was his Ring of Honor name. Punishment Martinez.
Yeah.
I thought it was a nice touch. I don't know. Yeah. I feel like that's the first time I've heard them say that, but I might be wrong. Maybe they've been saying that for a while. We got a look at the... Oh, no, I was about to run through the show, but that's not what we're doing. So we'll do the other triple threats, which was The Miz versus Cody Rhodes versus Finn Balor. The Miz earned his spot by Check's note, losing to Snoop Dogg at WrestleMania.
But no, because he's The Miz and he's awesome.
We also got to see Cody Rhodes' entrance twice.
Two-time Grand Slam champion.
His entrance?
The Miz.
Oh, I see. This was not getting as much time as the opener. They went very quick.
Former Mr. Money in the Bank.
And Cody had the match won when he hit 3 crossroads on The Miz.
Star of the Marine 3.
But as he was going for the pin on The Miz, Brock Lesnar showed up out of nowhere and yanked Cody out of the ring. This had been reported by Worked Wrestling on Twitter. This would be the case. And Balor hit the coup de grace for the win.
Mm-hmm.
So Balor advances to the finals of tonight's tournament.
This was the other part of the selling from last night that I really enjoyed. I just like continuity. You remember when Triple H would have a big match and he'd bleed everywhere and he'd come out with a giant plaster on his head? Or like when they'd come out with taped ribs because they'd taken a bit of a beating. And it was like, what's that tape doing? But at least it looked like something. I appreciated, even in his coming out for his promo earlier on, Cody did the whoa, but he didn't do both arms. And then he's got tape, and I'm like, oh, is he actually... Oh, wait, there was the Kimura lock last night. That's good. Yeah. I like that. How did you feel about
Cody's very good at that.
I stand Cody.
Me too, bud.
How did you feel about the Backlash match?
Oh, the Brock one?
Yeah.
I said in the podcast review of it we did a couple of days ago, Sunday even, that I thought it was your standard Brock Lesnar match. I thought it was a bit of a limp finish, but it was a limp finish.
You thought it was a limp finish.
A limp finish, but it was a limp finish that also suggested that this feud must continue.
Yes.
And it was only then I sort of twigged and I was like, oh, right, the Saudi show's next.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it makes sense that the feud must continue and do it again. What did you... I think you liked it more than I did.
Yeah, I enjoyed the match.
Ollie Davis also did as well.
I enjoyed the match a lot. I thought especially Brock getting colour, and what I think was interesting about that is that, you know, there's all this talk lately about potentially the third hour of Raw getting a bit of blood and guts going on. But I actually think it makes more of an impact if you don't use it that often, and apparently it was planned and
was a planned spot.
Yeah, and it looked great. Like it was like that, you could hear the crowd. He pulled back and he does this, and the crowd were like, "Whoa!" Like, and there's a real reaction to that. I thought Cody sort of smearing on Cody doing the crossroads and being covered in blood.
Yeah.
It really gave it a bit of a moment, a bit of emotion. I was surprised by the ending. I was surprised by the quick. I thought maybe there'd been a mistake, and then him running away was a little bit like, oh, okay. But
but that's not the running away that people are talking about, though, is it? People are talking about his little 8-year-old.
I'm going to get some steps now.
I'm going to go get Brock Lesnar.
However, I can't move past the image of it. It's he just like takes a step back and he's like, it's almost like Santino Marella. Do you remember Santino Marella used to walk like this? Like that's what it is. No, that's not what we should be talking about because Cody Rhodes is the best.
Yes.
But I thought it was a weird finish, but I generally quite liked the match, and I was pleased to see that it did carry on because I think that gave it, you know, something. But specifically, I thought not only was the visual of Brock bleeding cool, because we don't see that very often anyway. When the visual of him with a big black eye, huge stitches, and indeed a cut down here as well was even better.
Well, we'll get on to the Brock stuff later on, because we'll talk about the main event now, which was the finales of this little mini tournament, which was Balor versus Rollins. Very nicely set up this, because this was the first match for the Universal Championship. This was the inaugural Universal Championship match at SummerSlam way back when. And I really, really liked that they set up But Balor did the buckle bomb into the barricade on Rollins. The same move that Rollins did to him at SummerSlam that injured Balor, that meant he had to vacate the championship 24 hours
Yelling
later.
at him.
So I thought that was a really, really great spot. Brilliantly called back. I thought the commentary did a great job in explaining that to new viewers. Reminding us as viewers, but also explaining it to new viewers as well that this happened way back when. And it also then set up a nice story for Rollins to be the man who's got to come back and fight the odds in order to win this match.
I liked it as well. What was it Balor was saying? He was like, oh, how does it feel? Like, it's not nice, is it? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which was quite nice. My critique here is just the same critique as we said earlier on, which is that wouldn't this match have been, how excited would you have been for this match next week?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, so we have this match. It's the semi-final of the tournament. It's Rollins and Balor. It's going to go 30 minutes because we've got more time. And because they can handle a longer match.
This didn't go like 8 minutes.
15 minutes before the end of the show. So it was a very limited time. And I was just like, like I said, there's no need to build a feud necessarily, but give us that storyline, a couple of packages. It's your main event next week. It goes half an hour or so, 20 minutes. That's really my critique. Because when you are giving us matches that are really relatively cold, you sort of need to take any chance you can get to build whatever heat you can get. With these two, you ring the bell and it starts, and before you've got some heat. And it was
really
great
good match. Really enjoyed it.
And then specifically the other, I'm all about a visual, because do you remember when Sasha Banks beat Charlotte Flair for the women's title way back when, the first time?
The one that was on Raw?
Yeah, the one that was on Raw. And she was like, Charlotte was like, you will never beat me. And then seconds later, she was beaten. I love a visual like that. And we got one here with bloody mouthed Finn being like, I could do this all day, mate. Like, I could do this all day, brother. And I kind of loved that. I kind of was like, yeah, I bet you could as well.
So the thing I've seen, the critique against Rollins getting the win here, the critique I've seen against this is what we were talking about in the title of this podcast episode. He is the predictable choice.
Yes.
Because when Triple H introduced this belt a couple of weeks ago, the first person that came out and cut a promo about the belt was Seth Rollins. Yeah. He feels like the only wrestler in WWE who is focused on winning this belt, because he's the only one who's really cut promos about it. Like there's, Cody's promo today is the first time he's even referenced the belt.
It, yeah.
But like Rollins, in the 2 weeks of promos that he's had, has been like, I am going to win this belt. So it has been set up very early doors. He is going to be the first. He's your guy. He is the guy to win this championship. So yeah, it is a very predictable outcome for this. However, I also think he's the right guy to win this, because when I look at I look at who else they have in this tournament. So Balor has not been heated up enough.
Nope.
I think he should be back in a title picture scene and be back in the main event scene, but has done nothing but lose a lot on TV. Like he lost at Elimination Chamber. He lost at WrestleMania. Did he lose at WrestleMania? Edge beat him, didn't he?
Yeah, in the cell, yeah.
Yeah. And so Balor needs to be heated back up before he can be in that position again. Cody Rhodes, do not put him in this title picture because it undermines the finish the story. Shinsuke Nakamura, again, should be in this title picture, but he needs to be heated back up because he is coming in pretty cold, because all he's done, he's beaten Karrion Kross and that's it, because he's been off TV for so long. And Damian Priest, again, is like basically there. I don't think the Bad Bunny match hurt him in the slightest.
No, I don't think so.
But also, I think you need to give him a few more big wins before he gets into that position.
He's been Finn Balor second. Even though there's no leader of Judgment Day, but...
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a very good point. And then obviously, there's The Miz, who is a lower
double-time Grand Slam champion,
lower mid-card comedy character,
former Money in the Bank holder.
He's a lower mid-card comedy character that loses to Snoop Dogg,
Hollywood
which
A-lister.
it makes me sound like I'm being snarky, is a great use of The Miz.
Yeah,
that is the perfect role for him to be losing to Snoop Dogg at WrestleMania, because he's great at doing that.
We did say this last week though, and this is what you are dead right on all of this. It is about building the heat, and that's why having a slightly longer tournament, I think, would have been much to the championship's advantage, because if you want this championship to be considered the workhorse championship, the equal to the world disputed whatever title on the other side, if you want it to be considered the championship that people are going to earn your respect for, give us time, make them earn it. There's nothing that makes you think someone deserves a shot more than them really winning something, like winning a match after 25 minutes or so and stuff. I think, giving us a couple of weeks of people battering each other for the opportunity.
It also would have given you a chance to, like, you could have put JD Madonna in this.
Yeah.
And automatically establishing here as a tippity top guy that we've got a lot of faith in.
So in my fantasy booking, that I did a couple of weeks ago and didn't stop talking
Here we
about.
go.
One of the things that the purpose of me setting it up was, okay, well, let's use this opportunity not only to build up the title, but also to build up the mid card. Because people who don't necessarily get through to the semi-finals or even the quarterfinals or whatever, if you have a slightly longer tournament, they can start queuing up to challenge Gunther. And we'll believe it because we've seen them batter each other. And you can really start building up actual a division here, not only for the World Championship, but also the Intercontinental title. So yeah, you could have done that. Instead, I don't think anyone in this bracket was damaged, but I just don't think it was used to its.
It didn't elevate anyone.
That's the thing. It kept sort of people in stasis. And yes, the predictable champion won. Predictable brackets put right, because the last time something unpredictable happened, it ruined the entire company.
But even when I look at the SmackDown side of things, AJ again should be in the top title picture. But I don't think anyone from SmackDown should be winning this belt because it's supposed to be a Raw championship. So like AJ, Edge, I don't think we should be winning it. Ray, Theory has obviously got the US title. I think Bubbles and him are probably going to cancel each other out, and you've got Shamo there as well. So when you look at it from just a Raw perspective, Rollins is the right guy. Rollins is the absolute right pick. But then again, really, he's the only pick.
And that's damning.
I think that is a damning indictment. But so I get people's critique that this is a predictable outcome. But I do think it is the right outcome for this championship.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at like 2000s Raw, the elevation of Kurt Angle from Team ECK to World Champion is a couple of months' time, right? It's not that far. Now, Kurt Angle was uniquely gifted. And also both in ring and in promo, and took every opportunity and was a very believable winner of all those things. But it doesn't take long to take someone from comedy mid-card to serious world title contender. There was a lot of opportunity here to do something with it, and I think it's a little bit of a shame that in the confusion over the brand split and whether or not it's a consolation prize, they haven't really taken the initiative. I think that's what makes it feel like a shame for me.
Let's get into your thoughts on this. Head on over to WrestleTalk.com/support, and if Streamlabs will let you, we'll read out all of your comments above the $5 US. And Ben Vlerick kicks us off here. It says, this tournament makes no sense. Why SmackDown wrestlers? Didn't Miz lose to Snoop Dogg at WrestleMania? Didn't Priest just lose to Bad Bunny and get injured? How come the US champ is in, but the undefeated Intercontinental champion isn't? I know, don't question it, but wins and losses don't matter.
It's logic isn't hard.
Well, I'm giving people wins, and we'll come on to Natty a bit later on. Like, you can just give people some wins on TV to then make them, and you could have.
There's a prime example in this show of Zoey Stark.
Yeah, they're a great example of Zoey Stark on this episode of Raw. You could have done that by spreading this tournament out over a couple of weeks. And
when we get into the actual rundown of the show, there's gonna be a lot of things where I could quite easily and probably will be accused of nitpicking. But this is the problem. There's such simple changes, some easy changes, boost the logic, the internal logic, and the effect so much. And it's irritating that this giant company who's been doing this for 50 plus years doesn't do it.
And, there are other questions people had. Gunther wasn't in there, as Ben Blerick just pointed out there. He's on his honeymoon at the moment.
Oh, is he?
Yes, yeah, because he got married the weekend before Backlash, I think. But
German word for congratulations.
Yes, Gesundheit. And Drew McIntyre is another notable name that's not in the tournament, despite the fact he was very highly seeded in the draft.
I mean, he's also potentially dealing with a couple of knocks, but then we have the giant question mark over his future anyway.
Absolutely, yeah.
But that's a great example of a person. Let's say Drew was perfectly healthy. He might not be around for a little bit longer because his contract might be coming up. Use him as fodder.
Well, his contract comes up start of next year,
right?
So it's a little ways away. And people have said from the SmackDown side of things, where's Solo Sikoa? Like, why isn't Solo in this tournament? Solo has got he's got more singles wins than the Miz has got. Someone just pointed out in the live chat, Miz hasn't won a match all year.
The key question there that Ben's saying is who picks it? Like, who's the one who did it? I know Adam Pearce, but also, like, why? What's your justification, Mr. Pearce? Like, it's just an odd one. It's not one.
Will Campbell says, even with the piped-in crowd noise, I absolutely loved Brock's promo. Him screaming into Cody's face and painfully forcing Cody to look up at him while the camera kept subtly zooming in on the stitches on Brock's forehead made it quite dramatic. I agree. I said this in the editor review. Very good promo. It's just it was ruined for me by the hairdryer crowd noise that did not need to be there.
I actually thought Thunderous Boo.wav helped me a little bit. It was better than SmackDown Cheer.mp3, which we got for since SmackDown came on the air. I do think it was a bit much. However, I thought it really added to the promo having that level of wall of noise.
Yeah.
So
Chris here says, "Hi guys, with that image of the entire Raw Women's division doing the rounds online, including Alexa Bliss, who I thought was meant to be in this spot. I've got a question with all the options. Tell me why Natalya, the most boring of options, anyone else would have done. We'll get on to that later. And with Brock versus Cody 2 at Night of Champions, who's not defending their championship? Because 7 matches already fits every title. Hope it's Seth versus AJ in the final. And I'd like to congratulate Alexa Bliss on 10 years in the business last Friday." Well, Chris, that's your first mistake, my friend. No one has said that Night of Champions is the night where every title is defended.
It used to be.
That's what it used to be.
It used to be.
That's what it was once upon a time. But nowhere has anyone said on WWE TV every title will be defended.
Because, hey, we're all champions.
Because, like, a lot of people are like, what's because Kevin and Sami aren't going to be going to Saudi Arabia. Nope. Sami's not allowed, and Kevin refuses to go in solidarity with Sami. So the tag titles aren't going to be defended, which is why people thought the Usos were going to win them. So, but that's people were only thinking that because every title will be defended, but that's clearly not the case.
And there is, there's still an opportunity in the next 3 weeks for one of the tag team titles to be lost, because both of them are separate apparently, although they might not be. Because nobody knows what's going on.
I don't think
I think that is. I don't think that's what's going to go down at Night of Champions. There being everyone defending. There'll probably be this world. If you want to make this World Championship the big World Championship, don't have Roman on the show.
Yeah. Well, I'd imagine Roman will be at Night of Champions because I'd imagine that's almost.
We'll find out on Friday.
It's probably a contractual thing with the Saudi Arabian government that Roman is there. Apparently, he's also going to be at Money in the Bank.
Oh.
Well, he's been listed on WWE.com.
Oh God, don't let Cody do it in the cash-in.
Oh, in England. Back to the main show itself. Please continue getting in your thoughts and questions to WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll announce the winners of the book at the end of the show.
Go on then.
But if you are in the mood to click links, why not come and join us for our Night of Champions watch-along party that we're doing in Shoreditch in London on the afternoon of Night of Champions, because it is Saudi Arabian time. We're going to be raising money for charity as well, because it's a Saudi Arabia show. And we're going to be auctioning off a replica Jam That Championship, which we will sign on the day.
How thrilling.
We'll have merch, we'll have the books that we're able to sell, so we have a fun time. And because this pub is a brewery.
Oh, it's
and they brew all their beers on site.
Fabulous.
We get to name them.
Oh!
Yeah.
On!
There are 7 beers on tap, and we get to name them. So it'll be like we are basically taking over this pub, and we are going to just brand everything us.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So we don't even have to brand it like them, like WWE. We can just do it us.
We're just going to do it us.
What would you like the Luke Owen ale to taste like?
Well, so one of the names I had down was DAD IPA. Let's see if I can have the IPA, because I thought that's quite fun. As an IPA is a type of beer, Indian Pale Ale.
I know that I'm doing a bit.
Or I was just wanted to call it DAD Vibes, which is my Twitter username, but it's a Limp Bizkit song. So why don't you let us know?
Be more Luke Owen.
Let us know in the comments, what do you think we should be naming some of the beers?
Great.
That's very good. I'm going to farm the creative out, because I was just staring at a blank document earlier. And
that's what that was.
And then I emailed the pub being like, can you just let me know what types of beers they are, and I'll work out the puns from there. Anyway, on to this episode of Raw. Imperium walked backstage without Gunther, because he's on his honeymoon, and Kevin and Sami were having a chat, and Imperium walk up to them to have a go at them. And they were like, just give us 5 minutes and then we'll deal with you. And then they kept putting their fingers up, stopping them. And a bit of a tete-a-tete led to a match a bit later on.
I didn't love it.
Oh, I did. I thought this was quite funny.
I think they're quite funny. I just didn't love that it was Imperium they were doing it to. Could this not have been...
I see what you're saying.
Could this not have been Indus Share? Could this not have been the Viking Raiders? Could this not have been Maximum Male Models? Like, I have a thing about this later on in the show.
Otis took on Mustafa Ali, free agent Mustafa Ali, because that is a big deal for Moss and Brock Lesnar, but I don't think for anyone else, because one of them is Von Wagner. But Otis came out with Maxine and Chad Gable, and this led to what I thought was quite a fun finish.
I did too.
I really enjoyed this. Otis had the match won,
Mm-hmm.
where he could have been doing the caterpillar.
Yeah, he was ready to. He signaled for it.
And he's in the corner, and Chad Gable is giving him the instructions, do the caterpillar. But Maxine is telling him to do something else, not something that's so silly.
Mm-hmm.
And so Otis would look at Chad Gable, and the crowd would go, "Hey!" And then he would look at Maxine, and the crowd would go, "Boo!" So he'd look at Chad Gable, and the crowd would go, "Yay!"
Little yay boo.
I thought this was really, really fun. He opted, basically, not to do either of them, and it led to Mustafa Ali shockingly picking up a win
There
here.
he goes. You know, being a free agent works for some people.
Apparently so.
Yeah, put a pin in this match, by the way. It'll come back later.
We then had the other triple threat, which saw Finn Balor win.
Mhm.
And then Rhea Ripley came out for a match.
Yep.
And it was poor old Dana Brooke that had to
I-
take the absolute beating here.
I have a great deal of respect for Dana Brooke for how hard she works. I want that to be abundantly clear. However, what a jobber. This was. Full job.
I mean, there were two moments in this in particular, and neither of those are the fact that she just ate this clean loss very, very quickly without putting in, much offense whatsoever. It was her inset promo where she was like, "I'm good, I promise."
Yeah.
And going to high five a young fan who left her hanging.
No, I didn't.
Did you not
spot
see this?
that.
As she was making her entrance, she goes up to this young fan to do a high five. The kid doesn't, so she forced a fist bump instead.
Oh, Dana Brooke. Oh, God. It's so hard to... She works so hard. Criminy.
I know. I felt very bad for her. I literally written in my notes, poor Dana. Anyway, Rhea won. And then she was beating down Dana Brooke some more as we set up Rhea Ripley's first big challenger since the very much filler feud with Zelina Vega that was done for a admittedly very lovely...
Oh, my God. Not a dryer in the house.
It was an incredible moment.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of those things where it was like, Zelina Vega, that's Ripley's first feud, all worth it for that.
Yeah,
that Puerto Rican moment.
Yeah.
Incredible. But then it was like, cool, we've done that. Now let's have our first actual proper Rhea Ripley storyline as SmackDown Women's Champion here on Raw. And it was Natalya.
Yeah, it was. Who I like a lot, but I think would be better served teaming with Beth Phoenix in the newly developing women's tag division.
It's just like, and she came out to absolute silence.
Silence and
Proper cricket.
fully being undercut by Corey Graves, who I usually think does a very good job, but sometimes his snarkiness actually is to the detriment of the product, because he just said, well, it doesn't seem like she's in a hurry to get here. He basically was like, chop, chop, Natty, get on with it. We've got a show to do. And it was like, well...
Who's the actual person coming out next?
Yeah.
Because, we went through this list last week talking about how stacked Raw women's roster is now. And there was like loads of names that would have been really cool. Some fresh new faces that we could have put into this position. But no, it's Natty. And I've nothing against Natty, I guess, in a way, although it does feel like I'm ragging on her a little bit. But the reason why I'm ragging on her is because we've been doing Natty as the challenger that never wins the belt for 15 years now. And I
had that one run.
And I don't need to see it anymore because no one, absolutely no one, is going to believe she's going to beat her for the belt. In the same way that no one believed that Zelina Vega was going to beat her for the belt. So ultimately, what's the point then? Because this isn't elevating Natty, and all it's going to do is just drag Rhea Ripley down.
Question. Let's say...
Tell me what you think about me.
I love that. Thank you so much. Let's say, though, Tegan Nox comes out. Do you think Tegan Nox is going to win?
No, but at least it's something new and different.
Let's say Indy Hartwell comes out. Do you think Indy Hartwell's going to win?
Well, she's injured.
Go with me. Let's say Zoey Stark comes out. I think she's going to win. Nikki Cross. We believe that... I'm not disagreeing with you, but what I am saying is that we believe Rhea Ripley is going to batter people for the longest time. She was the number 1 draft pick. That's not a surprise. That's not a mistake. Who? Okay, so my counter argument to that would be Io Sky. I don't. Too late. She's on SmackDown. No, hold on. I don't think anyone thought that she was going to win the Raw Women's Championship at Backlash. Oh, I see. That Bianca Belair was always going to win that match, but that match elevated Io Sky and made her now the real standout within Damage Control, and they were really heavily pushing on commentary. That match has done wonders for Io Sky. She really did. She can leave with her head held high. It was almost like a babyface valiant effort that they were putting over on commentary and stuff. So if it was a
Zoey Stark or a Candice LeRae or a Piper Niven or an Emma or something like that. It's a new face that's in the title picture, and you can have a match that raises their stocks so that when they come to challenge her again for the belt, you believe that this time they could win.
Which is a good argument.
That's not going to happen with Natty.
Emma would have been a good one because of her history with Dana Brooke. My pushback to your pushback is that I actually did believe that Io Sky could have potential to win because Bianca's been champ for a long old while, and the story they were telling in that match, and this is taking us away from Raw, so I won't say too long on it, but the story they were telling in that match was Io Sky doing better without damage control, especially because she came down to the ring without. And when the match started going really all guns blazing, delicious, perfect match ever, I was like, this could happen here. But I do take and see your point, and I think that Natty, you're right, as a legacy person, is better suited. The tag division is a great place to continue developing people like Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, like Isla Dawn, like Indy Hartwell. Natty's a great hand to have in that division, I think.
My pushback to your pushback on my pushback would be, I think the second they were like, she's doing way better with that damage control, I was like, of course, the damage control. But also more to that point, it was when they came out, I was like, hey, if Bianca Belair wins this, she'll become the longest women's champion of the modern era. And I was like, oh, she's 100% retaining it. We did skip over the Brock attack on Cody. We did say we would come back to it. Well, that happened in the triple threat. That preceded the Rhea Ripley Dana Brooke segment. So this was...
Oh, it did.
So Brock attacked him, gave him an F5 through the table.
Yeah.
And he cut this promo where he said that he wants to talk about me. Cody looked into his win at Backlash, and now I want to fight at Night of Champions. I want to fight. I'm going to fight you. And he had the scar down his head that had the stitches in it. You mentioned he had the black eye and stuff.
China.
It looked so scary and so intense.
Spitting, foaming at the mouth.
But it was like this booing reaction that did not... And you made the point of that if it had been silence, it might have been worse. But Sean brought this point up on the Fightful post show, which is he spoke to someone within the industry who said a stunned silence actually probably would have made it even more impactful.
And that's an interesting chat. I mean, silence can.
If you have shots of people looking really concerned for Cody and stuff, you could have sold the silence of the moment. But yeah, it was just really weird to be piping, and the mixing on it was horrendous because the mixing was louder than his mic was.
Well, the mic at one point wasn't on. I think it was on for us, but not for the live crowd. I think what Puerto Rico showed is that the crowd is everything, right? The Zelina moment, them singing Bad Bunny's song as he walked down the aisle. Oh my God, that was one I watched that again and again even before the match.
Incredible.
The pop for Carlito, the pop for Savio. There were so many things. There was so much fun. And a lot of the crowds, unfortunately, we've always commented this, especially WWE shows, are quite dry.
Yeah, they're sort of out rest of America.
It's a little bit... I wrote down maybe it's a necessary evil. But that aside, the promo itself I thought was great because there was almost something there was an intensity in his face, but there's almost an embarrassment in his face. He's embarrassed that he's got a black eye. He's embarrassed that he's been humiliated like this.
Got pinned while he was in a submission.
In his submission where he breaks people's arms. What I loved as well was as he walked away, as he's walking back up the ramp, he took one look at the belt and laughed. And at first I thought he was laughing at the belt. And then I thought about it a second time and I was like, oh, he's laughing because he's stopped you from finishing your story again, you little pleb, which I quite liked. I thought it was an effective segment. Did you see Brian Alvarez's shade tweet?
I did not.
He was like, put it on a t-shirt and see how many it sells. Can't put a black eye on a t-shirt.
That's very funny. Yes, for anyone wondering, I am drinking Iron Brew.
Good for you.
Thank you, my friend.
Hawkeye the new.
It was picked out by Terry Lemon Guy today. We were down at Sainsbury's getting our lunch, and I said, Terry, what shall I have? And she went,
I would like for you to have the Iron Brew.
That's exactly what she said. And then I turned to Sullivan and I said, Sullivan, what chocolate bar should I have? And he went, all of them. I was like, that doesn't help me, Sullivan. Anyway.
I thought you were going to say, I turned to Sullivan and I said, what did she say?
Backstage, Byron Saxton interviewed Zoey Stark, who did get a boo. I had a match and piped in. And she set up a match with Nikki Cross, who she called a weirdo.
Here's an example of my internal logic being a tiny tweak makes the show better. Because this was one of several examples of, hey, we're backstage. Shall we make a match? That happened throughout the show. Yeah. Which leads me to say, well, what was your plan otherwise? You have 3 hours of TV. Did you not plan anything? Adam Pearce, you're not a very good official. So all that needs to change in this segment to fix that problem is she goes over and she says, look, here's my opponent for tonight. That's it. Yeah. That's literally all you need. Rather than saying, let me prove to you by having a match. Here's my opponent tonight. She's weird AF. Like, what's this, Nikki? Also, but Nikki is weird AF. And then Kevin Patrick, please take us to the bit where they come out later on and we'll talk about it. But yeah, it was just a tiny little tweak from an otherwise good segment to introduce us as a casual audience to Zoey Stark and say, watch what I'm going to do tonight.
Nikki's proper spinning her wheels at the moment until they actually decide if they're bringing Eric Young in or not.
Honestly.
Apparently he's signed. And has been signed since like late last year.
Maybe he's in Roderick Strong school. Hidden away somewhere until they forget.
We then got the match between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus Imperium. But as they were like, all of a sudden it was just like, but here, never mind that, here's how great we had on the UK tour we did.
Because Imperium are from Europe.
I know, but it's just like, okay, we're just going to stop all of our proceedings here to have some still images and fake website articles about how good the UK tour was. Awesome. I love that on my wrestling TV show. Either way, this was a very, very good match that showcased both teams. The champs won back to their winning ways, they said on commentary, because they did lose at Backlash. Because let's not forget, they are apparently just bit parts in this Bloodline story. Despite the fact that they were so incredibly over, their stars have diminished drastically since they won the belts at WrestleMania. And then they lost at Backlash and were not the focus. And that loss was just absolutely nothing of note. So
fortunately, at least Riddle took the pin there. But also, here's where I'm going to pull a pin out and be nitpicky again and a little bit cross, which is that, yes, this was a good match. Didn't want Imperium to take the loss. I know they're the tag team champions. To lose to the tag team champions you should lose to the tag team champions unless you're challenging for the belts and you're going to prove that you're the winners. Make this the match with Alpha Academy. A tiny little tweak. You can still do the Caterpillar Yay Boo segment in there, and that's what gives Imperium the opportunity to get the win. Imperium looked strong on their debut, because between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn being like, this is really annoying, we'll deal with you, fobbing off Imperium, and then them coming out and losing the match. Imperium don't look like this force that we've been promised from SmackDown.
Very true.
It's a very easy tweak to make to just put those two things together and achieve both goals at the same time without Imperium looking weak. Give me the book. That's all I'm saying.
Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville were asking people to sign their petition.
Love them.
And they handed it to Xia Li, who is either on Raw or a free agent. I don't quite know.
I think she's Raw.
She is on Raw?
I think she's on
Raw. She signed it without knowing what it was. And it's funny. I think for me, this is not one of my nitpicky moments of the show, but this is one of those moments where I just sort of look at WWE and go, what are you?
Right.
Or what do you really mean when you say things? Because they then go and speak to The Way. Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell, who's now on the main roster, and Dexter Lumis. And they don't sign the petition. Dexter Lumis gives them the thumbs down, and they walk off. And Johnny Gargano says, the family is back together. And we were told for years, the reason why we have to rebrand people from NXT on the main roster is because very few people watch NXT, so you have to reintroduce these wrestlers. And that's even happened in the Triple H era as well, so that's not just a Vince McMahon thing.
I mean, there was an NXT Influx promo segment on this show.
Absolutely, yes. But here, they had their cake on sweet it as well, which, as Zero Punctuation once brilliantly said, what else do you do with it?
Yeah.
And they were basically just like, expected 100% of their audience to know who The Way were, and they're a family, and that Indy and Dexter are married, and a lot of people won't. And this will have been, and they were even saying it about Imperium. This might be people's first experience of seeing Imperium wrestle, but they also then cut backstage like, oh yeah, there's Indy Hartwell, and this is the family she's part of. I think I just find this company baffling sometimes. They both,
and again, it's a company that's done this loads of times over the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah. But this was a true having their cake and eating it moment.
And it was, all I wrote down was the Way segment required a bit more NXT knowledge than I have, because my knowledge is that they were a team, and my knowledge is Index. I know that exists. That's where it begins and ends for me. So
I know that.
Also, they said he's coming back.
Well, we'll get onto that in a moment.
Okay.
I was going to say with the Index thing. Here is what I know. Some people really like it. Pete and Tempest didn't.
Okay, right, yeah.
And because they are grumpy little bastards, I'm going to assume
It was probably great.
It's actually probably great.
Yeah.
But yes, this was a tease here because Johnny did say he's coming back soon.
Of course, referring to Lord Tensai.
Referring to Tommaso Ciampa. At first,
That does make more sense.
At first, I thought it might be because Austin Theory was part of this group.
Oh my God, he was.
And so at first I thought maybe they're talking about Austin Theory, and I was like, no, they can't be talking about Austin Theory.
The Raw Championship.
He's just been drafted to SmackDown. It can't be Austin
win
Theory.
the World Championship.
He's also very different from when he was in the way. No, they were talking about Tommaso Ciampa. And I thought the reaction from Candice and Indy and Dexter here was very good because they were like a family unit who were like, oh, I don't think we should be bringing him into the fold because he done some stuff. He turned on you and made your life miserable. Yeah. So like, maybe we shouldn't just accept him in.
But I would like to see it.
This is the first time.
I'll never give up on Gargano.
This is the first time since Gargano's return where I've been like, ooh,
yeah,
I'm into this.
Yeah,
I am into whatever you're going to be doing here. So yeah, I've got a lot of high hopes for this angle. I think that they fumbled it ever so slightly by just, and again, easy fix. Give us a video package of the way before you do this segment. Tell us the history of them and then show them on screen.
Yeah.
Problem solved. You have then had your cake and eaten it.
Yeah.
As opposed to just being like, here she is.
Yeah. Welcome.
Speaking of introducing a new new person to your audience, Zoey Stark had a win over Nikki Cross. Not before they cut to a video package of the Bloodline storyline Implosion. Vince is calling a lot of shots here.
I have to say, I skimmed through this show so quickly because I just kept fast forwarding. I watched Backlash yesterday.
Video packages. This didn't have a lot of heat, but I thought Stark did what she needed to do here. She went in and got a decisive win over Cross, winning with the, as the Americans would say, Z360.
This was where I started to get really cross about Kevin Patrick.
Go for it.
In fact, I wrote down Cross versus Stark, aka the Kevin Patrick nonsense segment. Because as Nikki Cross was coming to the ring, he goes, "That little bundle of chaos." And I was like, what? And it's coming from your gentle bring him home to your mother Irish brogue. It makes Nikki sound lame. Yeah. It makes her sound cringe. Then slightly later on in the show, in the match rather, he called her lovable. He said, oh, she's lovable. Is she supposed to be unhinged? Or is she supposed to be lovable? Because at the moment, all I know is she sits there going like this and counting on her fingers. Like, I don't know what...
When is Eric Young coming back?
When is he coming back? What she's supposed... She comes out, she runs, she's not... It's all a bit devised drama. It's all a bit cringe. And Kevin calling her a little bundle of chaos, a lovable little bundle of chaos, is nothing. The match, though, was entertaining. I love the Z360. I love Zoey Stark. I think she's going to be a great addition. I think this was a great way to continue building someone fresh on your roster. Show us who she is. Going to be great.
This is from my bluey heads out there. I think did Kevin Patrick call her a
little bundle of chaos?
A little bundle of chaos. It's Muffin, right?
Then we had the I don't have your notes. I only have mine.
Well, this was legit my favorite thing on the show.
Okay.
Next. So Trish Stratus was putting up missing posters for Becky Lynch. And she's even got it on her t-shirt as well, that Becky is missing from TV. And she comes out for this promo. And she's there making fun of Becky's kid.
Oh, I was going to say.
Like, she doesn't recognize colors. She's 2.
I defer to the parent in the room on this one because I thought this was hilarious, but it might have been offensive. I wasn't sure. But I loved the idea that she's cutting a promo and mum's out there would literally go, oh, she doesn't know her colors too. I thought that was hilarious.
My kid's 18 months old and she recognizes colors.
Oh, come on, Mrs. Becky child of, what's it, Rue Rollins? Rue Lynch Rollins.
When we have our bath time, we were like, where's the blue fish? She looks at the bath and goes, a duh. And she picks up and picks up the blue fish.
My girlfriend's nephew has learnt the word yes.
Yeah.
And it's like a biscuit exists on the table and he'll be happily doing something else. He'll see it and go, yes.
Yeah. Oh, and my kid's got various. She go, yeah.
Yeah.
And, oh, yeah.
Kids are entertaining. Don't put them anywhere near me.
She's also learned no. So that'd be fun.
There was another thing that was interesting in this promo for me, because I thought this promo was really good, by the way. But before we get into what the sort of storyline development of it, when Trish, because Trish is really good at this, right? I think I've seen some people say the opposite, but for me, Trish really does well on this. There was a little bit of back and forth with Kevin Patrick, especially because she started going, "Have you seen her? Like she's walking on. Have you seen her? Like it was such S-housery. I really liked it." She said to Corey, "Will you tweet this out like I'm concerned?" And in the olden days, back in my day, JR and King would have sort of been answering back during the promo, and there are moments of silence in all these promos where I'm willing for the audience or the commentary to give back some. For Corey to have been like, "Of course I will, Trish," or anything like this. I don't know. It would have added a bit of spice.
Jerry would have been all
over this segment, and so would have JR.
Yeah, but Becky's music hit. And Trish went,
didn't believe she was going to be there.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And the crowd popped massive. And Trish like, "Oh, no." And then did the whole, like, it was the Shawn Michaels in Montreal being like, "I got you all."
Yeah.
Anyway, let me tell you how dumb her kid is.
Yeah.
So I was talking to my very smart child.
I love it all. I just love that we're in the era, but this is it's not to make a political statement about it, but I love that we're in the era of wrestling where we can have mums come out and cut mum promos. I think that's brilliant.
But she's also an amazing heel because then Becky's music plays again and Trish goes, "Guys, we've done that joke. The joke's over now. We don't need to do it again." Not knowing. And Becky Lynch just rises up like Godzilla from the sea behind it. It was so good.
With great gold eyeliner. Loved that.
This whole segment was awesome. Trish then, the realization in her face being like, "Oh, she has come back."
Yeah.
Turning around, bop in the face, down she goes. Becky stands tall and was like, "Band's back in town. It's going to set up a match for Night of Champions." This was a home run segment for me.
Absolutely.
I loved it.
Yeah, me too. And I have to say, I didn't expect Becky to... I knew the first time the music hit, I knew that wasn't real. I didn't expect Becky to be there. So when she did pop up, they got me, gal. I popped. I was like, "Oh, sick. This is well fun." Yeah, big fan.
Really, really enjoyed it. We also had a match set up between Xavier Woods and Dominic Mysterio.
The third segment where someone makes a match for later in the night, and this happened with less than an hour of the show to go. Yeah. So what was your plan for the third hour, guys?
Then also Xavier Woods is hanging out with Akira Tozawa because neither Kofi or Big E are around, I guess. This Dominic Mysterio is an interesting one. He gets the most incredible heat when he is cutting promos. Maybe it was just this crowd, but the bell rang and no one cared. And I was really surprised by that because people really like Xavier Woods and they really hate Dom Dom.
Yeah.
But the bell rang and people were like, "Eh."
Well, I think it was because it was a cold match out of nowhere. Also, it was close to the end of the show, maybe. Also, maybe this crowd just weren't vibing in the way I think I expected a Jacksonville crowd to be doing it, especially after Cody at the beginning, where they were the pop was great for Cody at the opening of the show.
But this was a bad crowd.
I do want to give props to Dominic though, because I think like we do this every week. I think his work has gotten so much better over and over and over, and I'm starting to see a world for him once Ray's not around anymore. Like I'm starting to see it happen, and I kind of think working programs with people like Woods is a great opportunity for him. He doesn't have to win them, just a great opportunity for him to learn a bit more and to flesh out his style away from his dad.
But I think the last three matches that we just talked about there are kind of the matches that I thought we might have been doing for the title tournament, which is, giving people wins. Yeah, because this was Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens getting a win. It was Zoey Stark getting a win. It was Dominic Mysterio getting a win. It's trying to build some momentum and build some actual like swell behind someone before you put them into title pictures. Yeah. So I thought this was a fight. I mean, like, yeah, sure, all three are fillers, but at least they are building blocks for something else.
Yeah.
So I've got thumbs up for this.
Yeah.
But a bad crowd, yes, I did think let Dom down somewhat.
Can I, just before we go on to the next part, can I give you another Kevin Patrick must be stopped moment?
Please do.
Which was when they gave us a recap of Cody and Brock from earlier on in the show. And it was like something had happened in the ring. I think it was the end of the Trish segment, Becky segment, and they were off. And then it cuts to Kevin and Corey, and Kevin goes, "Now this is what happened earlier on in the show." Like he was on CBBC letting us down gently. And it was like, that was exciting, wasn't it? But it wasn't exciting earlier on when Brock Lesnar did something quite naughty. And we wouldn't behave like this. We're going to show you the package. You might want to have a grown-up present just in case it gets a little bit too scary. bugger off with this, Kevin Patrick. You're supposed to be selling it like it's intense and scary. And like, oh no.
So right, he is a bit CBBC.
He's a bit CBBC, and
Well,
God
actually-
love him. He's a nice guy.
I'm gonna take that back.
CITV?
No, he's CBBS.
Oh, he's CBBS, and we don't need CBBS. We need Channel 5 After Dark on 1999. Didn't like it. Makes me cross.
Jinder Mahal cut a promo for Indus Sher. Veer
Fine.
Mahan is coming again.
There,
Nakamura.
and this time, he's not alone.
Nakamura was annoyed backstage, and the Miz walked up and said, "Look, we should have had each other's backs. We should be Miz K Nakamura." And Nakamura was like, "Do you know what? You're right. Next week, it's going to be Shinsuke Nakamura and the Miz, 1-on-1."
Miz Card Vortex.
Yep. Cool. And then Green and DeVille said that they needed 2 more signatures for their petition. I guess they needed an amount. And Raquel and Morgan sign it. Also, it turns out that this petition was for a tag title shot. And Raquel and Liv, the champions, filled out those last 2 signatures and said, "We will see you on next Monday's Raw to defend these tag titles." And Green and DeVille were like, "Actually, we signed this petition for damage control because they're going to win this Friday."
I like Green and DeVille very much. This segment was nonsense, but I like them very much.
Yeah, okay.
I like the commitment to the tag division.
Yeah, same thing. This segment was fucking awful, but I think the actual the fact that we are building teams, thumbs up for that.
Yeah,
but I thought this segment was garbage.
Yeah, it was. It was.
And then Kathy Kelly interviewed Cody Rhodes,
my first segment for the week.
Who said, "Brock's attacked me twice for no reason. You want to fight me?" And he accepts the match for Night of Champions. I wonder if it will be a fight pit match.
Fight pit! Fight pit! Yeah, that makes sense. Brock, that makes sense with Brock. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Yeah, I like that.
Put him in fight pit.
I'd much rather that than Last Man Standing. I find Last Man Standings to be interminable.
Yeah, and also we just had a Hell in a Cell.
Yeah,
so
fight pit sounds like fun.
Yeah, let's do a fight pit match. Yeah. So there you go. That was the episode of Raw. We'll have a poll going up in the live chat there, so that people can let us know what you thought of the show. I actually gave this 4 out of 5 in my edited review, and my reasons for are the wrestling up and down the card were dead good. I think, particularly in the world title tournaments, which is the most important bit. And I thought that they were doing some good building block stuff. Like I said, in the most nicest way possible. This was a formulaic episode of Raw. This was a formulaic episode of TV, but and maybe it's just because I've had 4 weeks of spinning wheels. This is the first episode of Raw since Mania where something is moving us forward.
Something is.
It just feels like we're taking a few actual steps forward now. This is a new start for Monday Night Raw. And maybe it is just I was really tired of the nothingness of the last 4 weeks leading up to Backlash, but I had a pretty good time with this show.
For me, there were too many little nitpicks for me to really give it a thumbs up. I thought there was a lot of enjoyable wrestling, but too many annoying segments that just basic logic, and that's my biggest weakness. So I gave it a full-on mid for me.
Let us know what you thought in the poll that is up now, and I'll see if we have got some shout-outs to do.
We
do. Thank you all so much for being our Patreon Pledgehammers over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk. Tomorrow is Wednesday. You know what that means. We will have the next episode of Behind the Scenes.
Ooh.
It's a special one. It's Ollie and Pete talking about the WrestleMania storyline.
Love that, yeah.
In depth. From start to end, all of the writing that went into it, the production that went into it, how the idea came about, why it came about. They go into a lot of detail on there. It's just the two of them, and it is going to be well worth your time. So go over to Patreon to hear that.
Yeah, a lot of hard work went in that, so it's going to be Next week, it will be WrestleTalk After Dark, which is our fun drinking podcast. And then the week after that, I'm very excited about this. The winner of WrestleTalk Extra, TNA. There you go.
Sacrifice 2009. Oh, you want a main event? It's Sting. Oh, it's Kurt Angle. Oh, it's Mick Foley. And it's Jeff Jarrett. It's my world. What a fatal four-way for the TNA World Championship.
It really is a Luke Owen special.
You want some more? It's Kevin Nash and Samoa Joe having a match.
Come
on, baby. This is what we're talking about. TNA Wrestling. We are professional wrestling. I can't wait.
I've never seen you.
It's going to be so great. I'm going to have a great time with it. It also means as well, 2009 is an active period of time for me on the message boards.
Oh.
So I should be able to find my thoughts on the show as it happens.
Oh, I love that. That's brilliant.
Yeah. So
I was at uni.
God, you're young.
Thank you.
I've been graduating for a couple of years by that point. I was in full-time work.
I was in my first year.
Were you really? You're not that young.
I am.
Are you?
Wait, when did Sacrifice? What year? What month?
Well, it would be May.
Oh, I haven't started my first year yet.
Crikey.
Yeah. I took a gap year.
Oh, a gap year.
Yeah, a gap year. Well, I worked, but anyway, that's beside the point.
It's beside the point.
The point is I'm young.
So patreon.com/WrestleTalk. And if you're one of our $25 and above Patreon Pledgehammers, you get your name read out on the show like these fine folks. He brings the fear, Amir Jones.
Golden man with the golden curls, Alexander Milashevsky.
Andrew Gifford, the big red dog.
The Shrockmaster, Austin Schrock.
Shawn Michaels' biggest fan, Brett Guy.
Chris Hellfire Brimstone.
Infinite Crisis, Chris Jenkins.
Chris, the Cypriot sensation, Petru.
Hey now, you're an all-star, Chuck Turner.
Cody, the Terminator, Moody.
The Mayor of Painesville, Dan.
And Daniel's sweet Mexican chocolate Ibarra.
That is your Patreon shoutouts here, the Hall of Fame class for Tuesday, the 9th of May, 2023, as he fills for time to get up the rest of your Ultra Chats. Ding, ding, ding. This is your last call for those Ultra Chats. Get them in WrestleTalk.com/support. Sorry, this is going to be a Streamlabs issue. They have lost your username. Do let our moderators know who you are. Who said Seth spent... Excuse me, the Iron Brew. Seth spent most of 2022 losing pay-per-views. He hasn't won a lot of big matches in 2023 either, which makes this look like a consolation prize even more.
Hey, now he beat Amos.
He beat Amos. He beat Logan Paul.
He beat Logan Paul in a very good match at WrestleMania. He is also the only person who technically Roman Reigns hasn't even cheated to beat.
Yeah, he beat the Miz in a very competitive match on TV as well. I would actually push back on that. I think Seth is the only guy in this tournament outside of Cody that genuinely feels like he should be in the title picture.
I do know where you're coming from though, but I don't quite agree.
Dylan says, maybe I'm a mark for this, but I do like the World Heavyweight Championship tournament setup. We get Edge, AJ Ray on Friday, and I think that's worth the SmackDown of it all. Sami free of the Bloodline, Cody Brock too. I'm pleased with the current creative. Also, Dan, Kathy looked gorgeous.
Of course, she always does. I think I agree with you. I'm not going to say no to AJ, Edge, Ray, but
on paper that is great.
Imagine if we had AJ and Ray. And then the next week we had AJ and Edge, like in a tournament. We could get loads. We could have got loads.
But actually, I mean, I think it's because you got the history of AJ and Edge, and obviously Edge's history with Reg. I think that's gonna be a really good triple threat. Matt Hennessy says, we are getting DIY back together. I'm so happy. I love the continuity from NXT. Given the psychological damage Ciampa betrayal caused Johnny years ago, I love that Candice and the rest of the way wouldn't want Ciampa in the group or anywhere near Johnny. I also appreciate the subtlety of the segment. Unlike VKM, Triple H did not beat us over the head with the Ciampa return. You just had Johnny say that he's coming back soon, and Candice saying it's a bad idea. Under Vince, Johnny would have said a black heart is returning soon.
It just reminded me of the moment when Seth Rollins was like, you might have him in your corner, but I've got a lunatic in mine, and fully undercut the Dean Ambrose return pop. You are right on that front.
Yeah. And I agree. And I also like the continuity between NXT and the main roster. I think that we do need more of that.
Just you need a refresher, I think. And it is what you say there about it's VKM would have had us battered over the head, Triple H wouldn't. I think that's where we see Vince in charge overall, Triple H getting things in under the radar, just looking for Vince to be sent off into the sunset. And given his future endeavors, it will never happen because what a toxic environment.
Just notice here that Tempest is currently watching the show.
Hi,
Tempest.
Tempest.
A live chat there. I wonder how Tempest feels about the way. I mean, actually, I know exactly how he feels. He said to me earlier, well, at least it's not on SmackDown.
Yeah, but we have Gunther, so...
Well, that's what, And then, speaking of, the Mayor of Painesville, Dan, hello, you wonderful people. Dexter Loomis and The Way back on Raw, and it's my birthday. What a time to be alive.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Daniel. 10 Rosa said, lads, Raw dragged so much today. Not much happened. Happened if you don't care about the consolation prize. That being said, are you pumped for Eurovision tonight / this week? Are you excited for and all the love to the Graham, Norton, and Ryland?
I am excited for Loreen of Sweden, icon of all icons, dance music sensation. Can't wait. Have been listening to her ever since 2012. Sweden again. Hedge Sverige.
I have only heard the UK entry.
I haven't even heard that.
And I was waiting for it to get started.
Oh, I usually just watch the show.
No, as in like the song itself.
see.
I'm waiting for her to be like, okay, and here comes the key change.
Right, okay.
Oh, and here is where... Nope. Okay, no, we're staying at this tempo, are we?
Right.
Cool. We're staying at this... Okay, cool. Up, grand.
Do you have a favourite Eurovision song of all time?
Oh, I mean, unfortunately, it was the one that we didn't actually get to... It was the Eurovision that was cancelled because of the
Iceland.
pandemic. Yes.
Yeah.
I can't wait to
Love that
know.
song.
What do you think
And
about it?
they're...
It means so much more to me now that I've since become a father as well.
I know. That means absolutely nothing to me. I would loathe children. I also... my one is Euphoria by Loreen, but also... just a little bit.
Oh, I mean, as an old classic.
Yeah. A friend of mine has a very, I'll tell you after the show, but a friend of mine has a very funny concept for what that song would best be used for. It's great.
That song proper takes me back to school discos. Being in the hall where you were awkwardly dancing.
I was too young to be awkwardly dancing, but yeah, where you're standing either side waiting for someone to make the first move. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, halcyon days they were.
That's very quickly the final one on just a little bit is that when they performed that song, they didn't know how to represent the sort of synth computer sounds on the stage, so they just had giant unplugged in computers standing next to them. It was great.
Kevin said, a bit random, but I thought to myself, I saw the lads' reaction to the WrestleMania main event ending, but what about the entrances? This company had no right to do that freaking ending with your reactions to the entrances. I felt for you, Luke, during Cody's entrance. I did cry.
I mean, I was spending the whole time the week leading up to it listening to Adrenaline and feeling like, oh my God, his dad. Like, I was ready to cry.
Yeah, I absolutely, I cried
it felt
during
real.
Cody's entrance because it did feel real. And I was like, that's your guy right there.
Yeah. And I think Triple H agreed.
Big MGM, at least you know Cody's big time now. He's at a point where even when the crowd are like this dead, they pretty much just came for him.
I know the truth.
Lolo here says, hey Dan, what's your review of Backlash? I was there. How would you guys rank this in the WWE events you've seen? Top 3 in Puerto Rico Twitter. EO has been officially adopted as Puerto Rican, and I love that Bronson embraced El Gordito chants.
I have to say, it made me quite emotional because for me, I love community stuff. Anything that brings people together, anything that is about identity and pride and celebrating each other and lifting each other up. That moment that, as I said before, Bad Bunny coming to the ring and having everyone like singing his chant like they're at a gig was so good. The chants for Zelina Vega, unreal. Even in defeat, she was getting those huge chants. I just thought it was an incredible crowd. I thought it was an incredible show, and it was a real advert for why these kind of localized pay-per-view events, premium live events should be more of a thing. I'm well excited for Money in the Bank in London. I'm well excited at the idea. There's a prospect of an Australia show they've talked about. I'd love to see that because just the vibe in that crowd, the energy of that crowd, how much of it, the Savio Vega pop, oh my God, the Carlito pop, oh my God, it was so good. And like, it did make me long a little bit for JR because the idea of like Puerto Rico's favorite son, oh my God, like all this stuff running down, really selling this moment. What we got instead was Savio Vega, Los Boricuas. I was like, oh, come on, Michael, you've been so good recently. What was that about?
Michael Cole had some absolute clangers on that show.
And whoever was...
let's not forget, he's got over 140 million social media followers.
Oh, yeah, and he has. But whoever was in charge of the drone needs to get fired.
What?
The drone was a mess.
That was so cool.
It was a cool idea, but it wobbled all over the place. It looked like a fan cam.
Yeah, it looked like it was directed by Sam Raimi doing The Evil Dead, chasing Bruce Campbell.
Not what I want. I want it to be smooth.
No, I thought it was awesome. And I actually gutted they didn't have it on this show. I think every WWE show should open with that crane shot, that drone shot.
But if you have a drone shot, every show it makes it feel less special. No.
Just hard to disagree. And N64 Live here says, to push back on his pushback on your pushback, here's some cash back. Have a great day. Thank you, Cliff. Justin Edelheit has been a member for 5 months in a row, says Veer Mahan is coming again, and he brought Jinder and Shanky with him. No, he hasn't. That's Sanga. So he doesn't get lost. Can't wait to see him in April 2024.
We have a couple more as well.
We do. We've got a missing username here. Please do let our moderators know. It says, I really enjoyed the Trish segment. I think they made a mistake putting her on Raw. She'd be a great contender for Bianca.
I think he's in a limited deal here, and I think that perhaps in the future, yes. But
if she is just on a limited deal, why was she drafted?
I mean, yeah, Lita wasn't drafted, was she?
No.
There's another one just quickly up here from Eric Metzlov. Am I the only one who is really hoping that this Trish heel turn leads to a match with her and Lita at SummerSlam rather than Becky? This could be the chance for those two to have their match that they should have had at WrestleMania 21 minus a championship. I don't disagree with you there. I'm always happy to see Lita. I would feel less confident in a major showcase match with Lita and Trish in 2023, given how irregularly Lita is in the ring.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it would. I think it's a great fantasy booking, but I think the reality of the situation is the match wouldn't necessarily be the 5-star classic we would hope it would be. But I like the idea of Lita turning as well and being in Trish's corner. Give me some of that. That would be fun, like Team Bestie. Yeah.
So thank you all so much for watching this episode of Raw, but it is time to announce the winners of a signed copy of the new war, WWE versus AEW, inside pro wrestling's hottest new battleground. We will be signing copies of this for these two winners. Thank you to everyone. We had, and this was fun, 316 entries into this, which means 316.
Love that. Love that.
Dave Bradshaw.
Because you got rid of 3 of them.
I deleted 100 entries just so I could
Good.
have that.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, of course. We put them all the names into a hat, and we picked out. And here are our 2 winners. So congratulations to Jimmy Losato and Chuck C.
Hey!
We'll be getting in touch with you via email to get an address for the pair of you, so you can get your signed copy of this book. And if you aren't one of our winners, sorry, but please do go and buy yourself a copy of it. Our moderators will be spamming that link for you to go and click, and it's available through Amazon, which means throughout the world. So go and get your copy. We haven't had any more extra chats come through, have we?
Not that I can see, but it's time to check the poll.
It's time to check the poll. Let me close that one. Good job you're here, because I would have just ended the show without doing it. We have some results. Thumbs up 55%, mid 40%, thumbs down 3%.
Oh wow, okay.
That's a really low
thumbs down.
Really low thumbs down there.
Yeah.
So that's a good turnout for Monday Night Raw.
Yeah. I mean, good. Glad everyone liked it.
So thank you all so much for watching. If you've made it this far and haven't already, please do press the subscribe button. We're around about 8,000 away from our next target, which is 85,000 subscribers. And when we hit that target, we're going to be doing another randomizer event that'll be linked to. So, if we hit it in July, we'll do a Money in the Bank randomizer.
Come on, let's do a Money in the Bank randomizer. Drive that up.
If we can get, I'd love to get there by
let's
July.
Make
so
it
we
happen.
Could do a Money in the Bank randomizer. I think that'd be really funny. If we do it in August, we'll do a SummerSlam main event randomizer. Yeah. So there's a lot of fun stuff that we're going to be doing, but we need your help in order to get there. So please do press that subscribe button. Also go and check out Cutscene. I'm really proud of it, and I need those videos numbers up so I can get another series. Until then, I've been Luke Owen, DAD. That has been the Professor Dan Layton, PhDAD. Jam that jam.